Andy, listen, the man is just about to say it.
Yeah, let's everybody listen.
The USA Radio Network presents the greatest radio programs of all time.
Henry Aldrich. Coming, Mother.
The CBS Radio Workshop, dedicated to man's imagination, the theater of the mind.
This is classic radio theater.
Want to get away from it all?
The FBI in Peace and War.
Fibber, McGee, and Molly.
The unexpected.
The unexpected.
The unexpected.
Now here's your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends.
An episode of Crime Classics today. The checkered life and sudden death of Colonel James Fisk Jr. from 68 years ago, June 29th, 1953. Thanks for tuning in on this Tuesday, 29th day of June, 180th day of the year, 185 days remaining in the year. One of the architects of the Manhattan Project, J. Robert Oppenheimer, had his access pulled and essentially discharged from the Atomic Energy Corporation in 1954.
The trouble with secrecy is that it denies to the government itself the wisdom and the resources of the whole community, of the whole country. And the only way you can do this is to let almost anyone say what he thinks, and to let men deny what they think is false, argue what they think is false. You have to have a free and uncorrupted communication.
Oppenheimer speaking on the CBS program See It Now in January of 1955. Oppenheimer discharged from the Atomic Energy Commission in 1954. Federal Aid Highway Act of 1956 signed on this date, officially creating the interstate highway system. The Supreme Court ruled in Furman versus Georgia on this date in 1972 the death penalty could constitute cruel and unusual punishment, prompting some states to revise their laws. In 1995, the Shuttle Atlantis and the Russian space station Mir docked, forming the largest man-made satellite ever to orbit Earth. President George W. Bush chose to invoke the 25th Amendment on this date in 2002, temporarily transferring his powers to Vice President Cheney while Bush underwent a colonoscopy. Actress Katharine Hepburn died on this date in 2003.
Well, maybe we better sing. I can't give you any... Well, sing, David. I can't give you anything but love, baby. That's the only thing I can do, baby. Dream a while, scheme a while, find happiness, and I guess all those things you always find. Oh, gee, it's looking swell, baby. Diamond bracelets will always never sell, baby. Till that lucky day, you know darn well. Oh, baby! Baby! Oh, David, where is Owen?
I'll be back.
Oh, dear.
From the 1938 motion picture Bringing Up Baby with Cary Grant, married to Spencer Tracy for over a quarter century until his death in 1967, Hepburn died of a tumor in 2003 at the age of 96. Apple released the first iPhone on this date in 2007. And in 2010, Larry King announced he would step away from his CNN show after 25 years on the air. Among those passing away on this date, poet Elizabeth Barrett Browning, Let Me Count the Ways, How Do I Love Thee? Actor Fatty Arbuckle, actress Jane Mansfield, boxer Primo Carnera, actor Bob Crane, a very strange death, Lana Turner, Rosemary Clooney, and passing away 1 year ago today, actor, director, producer, and screenwriter, and father of the meathead, Rob Reiner, Carl Reiner, passing away 1 year ago today. This is the birthday to the founder of the Mayo Clinic, William Mayo, singer-actor Nelson Eddy, composer Leroy Anderson, so much unusual music for the time. Frank Lusser, composer, Little Eva, the singer of The Locomotion, and actor Slim Pickens.
Well, boys, I reckon this is it. nuclear combat toe-to-toe with the Ruskies.
Hey, what about Major Kong?
From Dr. Strangelove, Slim Pickens, born on this date in history. Kara Williams of Pete and Gladys fame with Harry Morgan. Kara Williams, 96 today. The unusual Gary Busey, probably best known to a lot of people as his portrayal of Buddy Holly. Comedian is 77. Richard Lewis, 74. Men at Work's Colin Hay is 68. He is an assistant professor in English at Cal State Long Beach, has his Ph.D., but best known to America as Wyatt Donnelly in Weird Science. Elian Mitchell-Smith, 52. Singer Nicole Scherzinger is 43. NASCAR driver Martin Truex Jr., 41. Weekend Update anchor Colin Jost on Saturday Night Live, 39. Chris Manawa on The Fear of the Walking Dead, Lorenzo James Henry, 28. And Veronica in CW's adaptation of the Archie comics Riverdale, Camila Mendez, is 27. Those some of the people who celebrate the 29th day of June as their birthday. If this is your birthday...
Hi, we're the Four Freshmen, and we just want to say, Happy birthday to you!
From 68 years ago today, June 29, 1953, Crime Classics on this Tuesday, Classic Radio Theater.
You know, if you feel like you're stuck with a healthcare plan that isn't affordable or you simply don't like it, right now is a great time to switch to MediShare. The typical family saves $500 a month when they join MediShare, and what's more, they like it. MediShare has double the customer satisfaction rate compared to the typical health insurance plan. That's double. So you get a massive network of providers to choose from. You get telehealth services, and MediShare is the most trusted name in healthcare sharing. It's been around for more than 25 years, shared more than $4 billion in healthcare bills. Here's why now really is the time to make the switch, too. You can start saving each month, which is huge, but right now, they'll waive your joining fee. So you'll save another $170 right off the bat. But again, it's a limited time offer. You got to call now. And it only takes 2 minutes to find out how much you'd save by switching. Here's the number, 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE, 833-34-BIBLE.
The best companion a pillow has ever had. You've heard me talking about Mike Lindell's Giza Dreams bed sheets now for a couple of years. They're the perfect companion to the MyPillow. Made with the world's best cotton called Giza, grown only in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River. Its long staple cotton makes it ultra soft and breathable. And just like the MyPillow, there's a 60-day money-back guarantee, 10-year warranty. Try it for yourself. Mike Lindell and I promise you'll sleep better or you get your money back. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener special, use my promo code USA. You'll get 2-for-1 pricing plus free shipping, but only by using my promo code USA, or call 1-800-951-8175 and ask for the Giza Dream Sheets special, and the promo code USA gets you up to 66% off the entire line of MyPillow products. Sleep better with the Giza Dreams bed sheets and save at MyPillow.com, promo code USA.
Hi, this is Pastor Greg, host of the Chosen Generation radio show. I like discounts, and I bet you do too. If you're age 50 or older, the Association of Mature American Citizens, AMAC for short, has plenty of discounts available for their members. Airlines, hotels, restaurants, auto insurance, and help with your Medicare plans. What I like most about AMAC is they understand my values, and they're fighting for them every day. Unlike the other guys that just talk a good game, AMAC is actually holding to my biblical Christian American constitutional values. It feels good to belong to a true American organization. Why don't you join me by calling them at 855-696-7930. That's 855-696-7930. Again, the number is 855-696-7930, and use the promo code Pastor Greg. That's Pastor Greg, and get your first year on me.
Before I get started here on Classic Radio Theater, I had a good talk with the folks at the International Jack Benny Fan Club. and found out that they are working very hard to get the original Maxwell from the Jack Benny Show, the real Maxwell. Laura Leibowitz had a good talk with her. And if you go to their website page, jackbenny.org, you can find out more about their efforts to get the show, get the Maxwell. It's not a lot of money for a classic car that actually still runs. jackbenny.org to find out more. Now on Classic Radio Theater, we go back 68 years, June 29th, 1953. Crime Classics, The Checkered Life and Sudden Death of Colonel James Fisk Jr.
Good evening. This is Crime Classics. I am Thomas Hyland. I'm going to tell you another true crime story. Listen. The man who just fell down the stairs is Colonel James Fisk Jr. Although the colonel is a man given to the consumption of dozens of Blue Point oysters and bottles of heady wine at a sitting, his friends were given to pointing him out as a man inordinately steady on his feet. So why did he tumble down the stairs? And in New York's Grand Central Hotel, no less, where stair tumbling was frowned upon. The colonel didn't slip. He wasn't pushed. He was shot. The sudden presence of 2 bullets in him had upset his equilibrium. The man who's running away is the man who just shot the colonel. His name, Edward S. Stokes. Until recently, the colonel's very dear friend. There he goes. And tonight, my report to you on the checkered life and sudden death of Colonel James Fisk Jr.
Crime Classics. A series of true crime stories taken from the records and newspapers of every land, from every time. Your host each week, Mr. Thomas Hyland, connoisseur of crime, student of violence, and teller of murders. And now, once again, Thomas Hyland.
Colonel Fisk lay at the bottom of the stairs a few minutes before 4 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon, January the 6th, 1872. He was dying. His life was coming to an end. And he would be sorely missed by his family, Mrs. Fisk and the children, and by his intimates, among whom were Jay Gould, Boss Tweed, and the heavier stockholders of the day. A man dying, and I know the precise instant when his dying began. It started some months ago in a rather ornate house in Washington Square. 2 women were talking, and the younger one said,
Annie, how can I meet Colonel Fisk?
That was the instant. And the older one said,
Dearie, dearie, dearie.
But the younger one was not young enough to take dearie for an answer.
I mean it, Annie. I want to meet him.
He's so wealthy, isn't he?
And all I have is a black and white silk dress and an empty purse. So very empty, dear Annie.
Oh, orphans in the rain and empty purses sadden me so, dear Josie.
And I've heard he's coming here tonight to visit with you.
The dear Colonel says I set such a good table. Dear Josie.
Yes?
Walk over there to that cabinet, dear Josie. In the very bottom drawer, you will find 2 candlesticks given to me by the minister from Egypt. Get them. Yes. They are heavy, aren't they? Now put them on the table. Mm-hmm. And light them. Good. Now blow them out, gently.
Well, Annie?
Dear Josie, will you join the dear Colonel and me for dinner tonight?
So nice of you to ask. I'd be delighted, dear Annie.
So it was that Colonel Fisk and Josie Mansfield met. It was a highly successful meeting.
I kiss your hand, Josie.
You're a very sweet man.
Isn't she a dear?
So lovely.
And so poor.
So sad.
The colonel was a man easily touched. And this was the era for young widows, beautiful and penniless. It was the era for weeping at the mere thought of such a situation. It was a decade of compassion and champagne. And this night, the meeting night, was one of the most poignant of the decade.
Tomorrow, Josie, a jewel to lie against the throat.
Oh, Colonel.
My carriage will call for you at noon and bring you to me.
And where will you be?
At Tiffany's.
The necklace counter?
Of course, my dear. More wine? Diamonds become you.
Oh, Colonel. Oh, Colonel.
Look at it, dear. Do you like it?
It's very nice.
And it's all yours.
Oh, thank you. I've always wanted a home of my own. And servants of my own.
6.
Kiss me, Colonel.
Good evening, Colonel.
Evening, Quimby. This is Mr. Stokes.
May I take your cane, sir?
Thank you, Quimby.
Is,
The mistress is in the drawing room. She's waiting for you.
This way, Stokes.
Hello, Colonel. And you must be the Colonel's best friend, Mr. Stokes.
I hope this is no imposition, ma'am.
Preparing dinner? Certainly not. I just sat here all day, listening to the new present the Colonel sent me, while the servants made ready.
Do you like the new music box, my dear?
It reminds me of you when you're away from me.
Such a pretty speech. How fortunate you are, Colonel.
Oh, wait till you taste her pheasant a la Esther.
I can hardly wait.
Now, will you two excuse me for a moment?
Where are you going, Colonel?
I left a small package for you out in the carriage, my dear. And
of course, we'll excuse you. So, you're Mr. Stokes.
So you're Josie.
I must say he was right. You are elegant.
He was right. You are very lovely.
You're younger than he told me.
And you're...
What?
You are.
Will you help me light the candles?
Josie.
Will you help me with the fireplace?
Josie.
The music box is run down. Will you...
Josie.
You won't help me with anything. You're wicked.
Yes, I am.
You're very wicked.
At the time Josie whispered this tender criticism, Mr. Edward Stokes was 5 feet 9 inches high. His head was covered with glossy curls, his complexion clear, his features regular, and his eyes dark blue. He was dressed in the height of fashion, and his diamond studs gleamed brilliantly. And after the colonel returned with a forgotten package...
Oh, a ruby pendant. Thank you, Colonel.
You're very welcome.
And after the wine was drunk and venison devoured, and the fingers dipped in the lemon water, after that evening of old friends and new, after that, there was a new day. And there was this.
Good morning, Mr. Stokes.
Good morning, Quimby.
The mistress is in the sitting room. She's waiting for you.
Thank you, my man. Josie.
Edward. Oh, wait, Edward. I was out this morning early shopping. Here, I bought something for you. Open it.
Josie. A pearl stick pin. There was no need for you to...
Oh, yes, there was. Now be quiet.
Several other scenes between these wild, storm-tossed lovers you might care to eavesdrop upon, since they'll give you a better understanding of the currents sweeping these two upon violent shores, like this one.
Best champagne in New York. Now take off your little shoe. Here, use my mallet, dear. This croquet has brought the pink to your cheeks. Make your shot.
As is always the case in skullduggery of this sort, there is an in the meanwhile. So, in the meanwhile, in the Park Avenue home of Colonel James Fisk Jr., the colonel and his lady. The children have been tucked away for the night, the servants snug in their quarters, as were the animals. A quiet hour, an hour for a man and his wife, and for family discussion.
You fool! You cheat! Blackguard!
Dear, the children, you'll awaken them.
A woman like that.
Have you no compassion in your heart? She's a widow.
Ha! Ha!
Alone in the world. I am but her advisor.
Ha! Ha! Now that's all you are.
What are you talking about?
What all of New York is saying.
And that is?
Ha! Ha!
And that is?
The most concerned is the last to know.
Know what?
Your precious widow and Edward Stokes.
What?
Ha! Ha, Colonel. Now you know what I've been through. The aggravation, the shame, the heartache, the sorrow, the unrequited love.
I'm sorry, Colonel. It's so late at
Quimby,
night.
where is,
The mistress is in her boudoir.
Go awaken
Who
her.
is it, Quimby?
It's not Mr. Stokes, ma'am.
Why, good evening, Colonel.
What's this I hear about you and that scamp, Edward Stokes?
Why, what have you heard?
That you and he,
Who told you that?
my wife.
You'd better go back to her, Colonel.
Then it's true.
I love him very much.
Josie,
Go back to your wife.
I warn you.
You warn me. You, Colonel?
Listen to me. I'll ruin you.
Please. Go home.
You and Edward Stokes. Mark my word. I'll ruin the both of you. My promise to you, if it takes the rest of my life.
And it may well be. From 68 years ago, June 29th, 1953, crime classics here on Classic Radio Theater. We will have the news from 68 years ago today coming up next right here on your favorite radio station. Classic Radio Theater friends, my feet hurt. They have hurt for a long time. I have suffered from diabetic neuropathy for some time, and as such, my feet tend to swell. And it's difficult for me to get comfortable. I get some good shoes, and they try to help, but nothing has helped my feet feel better since Mike Lindell sent me a pair of my slippers. Now, don't let the name fool you. These are not something you just wear in the bedroom. You can wear these anywhere. The My Pillow slippers have an indoor-outdoor sole and 3 levels of cushioning. This 3-tier cushioning system includes My Pillow patented fill, their proprietary foam that you know and love. It creates a solid layer to provide very comfortable support. Comfortable memory foam and patented impact gel made from American soybeans. It's revolutionary in absorbing impact and relieving pressure. It's finished with high-quality leather suede made from U.S. cowhides. They are comfortable, cozy, and a cozy faux fur lining to make your feet feel warm and comfortable in the winter and make you feel relieved in the summer. 60-day money-back guarantee, 1-year limited warranty. Mike Lindell guarantees you'll like them or you'll get your money back. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listeners square. Use my promo code USA or call 1-800-951-8175. 2 different varieties, slip-ons or moccasin style. You will love these My Pillow, My Slippers. Mike Lindell has done it again. If you have trouble walking, if your feet don't feel like right, get My Slippers from Mike Lindell. MyPillow.com, promo code USA. Thanks for tuning in on this Tuesday edition of Classic Radio Theater, an episode of Crime Classics, as it was originally broadcast Monday, June 29th, 1953, in the newspapers of that Monday, 68 years ago. These are some of the headlines. The Russians appeared satisfied yesterday that East Germany's communist regime has recovered from the June 17th workers' revolt enough to govern again without the open backing of Red Army bayonets. Throughout the Soviet zone, communist leaders staged loyalty rallies as Russian commanders relaxed the tight military controls that smashed the rebellion. Hundreds of doctors, nurses, and volunteers mobilized as Montgomery County, Alabama, prepared to inoculate some 30,000 children with gamma globulin to halt the spread of crippling polio. Health officials held high hopes that the vaccine, to be administered starting tomorrow, would reverse the rising tide of infantile paralysis, which has infected 75 persons. 3 have died. Secret negotiations in Tokyo to end President Syngman Rhee's revolt against United Nations truce terms are deadlocked on some important final details, that according to an official present at the meeting reported. The optimism surrounding the conferences between the South Korean president and President Eisenhower's envoy, Walter Robertson, has disappeared. A congressional rush to cut personal income taxes predicted if President Eisenhower loses his crucial House battle to extend the excess profits tax. Leaders on both sides cited income tax rates as one of several critical issues at stake, which far overshadows the profits tax bill itself. Cinderella bride Barbara Bobo Rockefeller, who dramatically took over control of the Park Avenue apartment of her estranged oil millionaire husband, Winthrop Rockefeller, during the weekend, defiantly announced last night she intends to stay in my home, food or no food. Bobo took advantage of her husband's absence in Arkansas to move in with their 4-year-old son, Winthrop Paul. Bobo is the daughter of a one-time coal miner who threw society on its ear when she and the oil scion were married in Palm Beach in 1948. How Bobo managed to get into the New York apartment with her son was explained by her former newspaper woman, Patricia Bronte, confidant of Mrs. Rockefeller. She said orders had been given to 3 servants to keep her out, so she got an elevator operator to go to the apartment and ring the bell. When the servant opened the door, she rushed in with her son. President Eisenhower has requested immediate action on his special anti-communist refugee bill, and backers of the proposal will try to force it out of a Senate committee. Eisenhower privately informed lawmakers friendly to the measure that he regarded it as a key point in his program to lend encouragement to anti-communist forces in Russian captive nations. And in Defuniak Springs, Florida, when Miss Mamie Hilson fell off the front porch and broke her hip, her identical twin sister, Mrs. Maud Bird, remarked she supposed she'd break hers too, because they always did the very same things. Well, 10 days later, Mrs. Bird fell off the same porch, did suffer the same kind of break as her sister. They're recovering in the same room in County Hospital. And those some of the day's top news stories as reported in the newspapers of Monday, June 29th, 1953, and on your radio crime classics. We'll hear the conclusion next on this Tuesday edition of Classic Radio Theater. Friends, Laura Leibowitz at the International Jack Benny Fan Club is conducting a fundraiser to purchase the Maxwell that Jack rode in many movies for the fan club. Now, the International Jack Benny Fan Club is a 501c3 not-for-profit. Your donations are tax-deductible. Help preserve a slice of Jack Benny history by going online to their website, jackbenny.org. That's jackbenny.org, and help preserve the real-life Maxwell. If you enjoy our Classic Radio Theater broadcasts and want to start building a collection of your own, go to classicradio.stream. That's classicradio.stream. There you'll find links to great classic radio collections on CD, along with links to great reading on classic radio, plus Classic Radio Theater on demand. Check out our webpage, available now at classicradio.stream. That's classicradio.stream. And enjoy.
When thinking about life insurance, my accident reinforced you never know what tomorrow might bring. That's why I reached out to AccuQuote. AccuQuote helps people find a life insurance policy that meets their needs. Since 1986, they've helped millions of folks save up to 60% on their life insurance by comparing the rates and features of dozens of top-rated life insurance products. A healthy 50-year-old non-smoker can buy $500,000 of 10-year level term for less than $45 a month. A 60-year-old under $120 a month. Longer or permanent terms are available. Even if you already own life insurance, you really need to check out my friends at AccuQuote. Don't worry about health issues. Remember, they help me. As a pastor, I'm concerned about your soul and helping you to make sure your family is taken care of. Life insurance is more affordable now than ever, so don't make them wish you'd made that call. 877-437-4781. Call now, 877-437-4781. 877-437-4781.
Rates, policy forms, and availability vary by state.
What does it mean to be an American? Just what are our American values? Working hard to succeed, loving God, country, and family, being honest, strong, and compassionate.
Supporting our Constitution and recognizing that we are blessed to be living in America, the greatest country in the world.
Our Bill of Rights protects us, our freedoms of worship, speech, and privacy, our right to own firearms, our right to trial by jury,
our right to be free, to live our own lives without some bureaucrat telling us what to do. Most countries don't have these rights.
Want to know more? It's all there in the book. Get your own free book, The U.S. Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. Then read it again, and this time share it with your friends. Our great Constitution is the basis of all of our freedoms, our inalienable rights. Get your own copy at freeusbook.com.
Brought to you by the American Media Council.
On Wednesday's Classic Radio Theater, an episode of radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense. From June 30th, 1957, 64 years ago, Agnes Moorehead, starring in an episode entitled The Yellow Wallpaper. A woman going mad spends the summer in a room with yellow wallpaper whose patterns come to life. That will be on Wednesday's Classic Radio Theater, but let's wrap up this episode of Crime Classics from 68 years ago, June 29th, 1953.
The Colonel left. The Colonel was driven to his club, where the Colonel spent the night. And the next morning, early, the Colonel began the final week of his life.
You are listening to Crime Classics and your host, Thomas Hyland, and his report to you on the checkered life and sudden death of Colonel James Fisk Jr.
I'd like to set the coordinates for you again. Take a reading of exactly where we are in time and space. The year is 1872. The place is New York City. Now, 1872 was a vintage year for pearls in the bottom of champagne glasses, of fatted railroad stocks, and the diamond harvest was spectacular. The term rags to riches was coined on a day in this year, when a raggedy sewing machine girl was summoned from her chores, taken by the hand, dressed in silk, then released into a gilded cage. New York City at this time was a center for many similar dramas, one of which we're concerning ourselves with. Colonel James Fisk Jr. had compassion for a widow named Josie Mansfield. Josie Mansfield had compassion for the Colonel's friend, Edward Stokes. The Colonel, upon hearing of this arrangement, immediately went into action, in a Colonel-like manner.
Your Honor, I want to swear out a warrant for the arrest of Edward S. Stokes for embezzlement.
Why, certainly, Colonel. We'll have the culprit in jail in no time at all.
Inside with you, Mr. Stokes.
Jailer.
Yes, sir, Mr. Stokes.
Do you have the list?
Yes, sir. Your living room furniture, the portraits, and the bed. I'll have them here in no time at all.
Edward Stokes was a model prisoner for 2 days. He was then released when the charge against him was dropped. Not to be outdone, he went into action in a manner which gained the plaudits of his cronies.
Your Honor, I want to swear out a warrant for the arrest of Colonel James Fisk Jr. for false imprisonment.
Why, certainly, Mr. Stokes. We'll have the culprit in jail in no time at all.
Jailer?
Yes, sir, Colonel. The living room furniture, your easy chair in the library, and the bed. I'll have them here in no time at all.
War of nerves, tactics, and strategies, and reprisals. And the real victors, the gatherers of the loot, the lawyers. So the Colonel and Mr. Stokes called a truce, waved white napkins at each other across a gleaming table at Delmonico's.
Stokes, I think we both acted like children.
I agree with you, Colonel.
Let me fill your glass. Yeah. A toast. To a friendship.
Our friendship, Colonel.
Enough of jails and lawyers and arguments. Life is too short.
I'll drink to that, too. Colonel?
And we can settle our affairs like men.
I'll drink to that, too.
No, wait. Let's settle our affairs first.
Delighted.
There is only one thing which stands in our way.
Obviously.
Josie Mansfield.
You're right.
Stokes, you're not ever to see her again.
Colonel?
You agree?
Colonel, you're a fat, stupid fool.
I accept that. But you're never to see Josie Mansfield again.
Josie told me that if I saw you, I was to tell you you are a fat, stupid fool. And you are.
I warned you once, Stokes. I'm not going to warn you again.
Then I'll warn you. If you make any trouble, Colonel, you won't live to enjoy it. My promise to you.
Good evening, Mr. Stokes. The mistress is in the parlor.
Josie. Josie. Josie, wake up.
Oh, Edward. How nice, Edward.
Dearest, listen. It's important. Are you awake?
Well, of course, I just drowsed off. I was reading, waiting for you, and now you're here.
Josie, listen. It's about Colonel Fisk.
Oh, please don't talk about him, not now.
He's ruined me.
What are you talking about?
I'm a pauper.
You? Why, you're one of the wealthiest young men in
No,
the...
not now. I don't have a penny.
What happened?
The stocks I had, all my assets.
Well?
The Colonel forced down the value of the Erie Railroad stocks, wiped me out.
Oh, Edward, I'm so sorry.
Josie.
Yes?
I'm poor now. Do you want me to leave? Never come back?
Darling Edward. Darling, dearest Edward.
Josie.
We'll beat him. We'll destroy the Colonel, you and I together.
That's impossible. He's too powerful.
He's a weakling.
What?
I can prove he's a weakling. He writes letters.
Letters?
I saved them. And that's not all.
What do you mean?
Dealings he's had. Dishonest business dealings. Would you like to look at them?
Dearest Josie, I love you so much. So that's why I thought it more discreet to hire a cab, Colonel. Surely you understand.
I must tell you, Stokes, when I agreed to meet you, to ride with you in a hired hack at night...
I explained the necessity of secrecy, Colonel.
As indeed you did not. You merely said secrecy. That is why I must tell you I am confused. Have you made another decision about Josie?
A tentative decision, Colonel.
Tentative?
Yes, it depends on you.
Oh?
I need money.
I know.
Badly.
I know.
Colonel,
Yes?
You love Josie very much, don't you?
I understand you now, Stokes.
I thought you would.
You want me to reimburse you for the money you've lost?
$250,000.
I know. In return for which, you'll give up Josie.
That's right.
I'm sure there must be a name for you, Mr. Stokes.
I'm sure of it.
I had an experience last night. I had dinner at home with my wife. The children were with us. After dinner, I played on the floor with my children. I heard them laugh. I heard my wife laugh, too. And I laughed, too. And there was no other meaning behind my laughter except enjoyment of my family.
Very touching.
And rewarding.
Then you're not interested in my proposal.
I'll get off at the next corner, Mr. Stokes. Tell the driver.
Of course. Next corner, cabby.
Well, Mr. Stokes, give my regards to Josie. Tell her I'm truly sorry for what's going to become of her. Goodbye, Mr. Stokes.
Colonel, wait.
I'm sorry we have nothing else to talk about.
Except the letters.
What letters?
You have a rich way with words, Colonel. I congratulate you.
I don't understand.
Oh, of course you do. The letters you wrote to Josie.
I see.
All of them.
I see.
They could ruin you.
Perhaps.
I remember one of the letters opened with, "Dearest Josie, my poor little widow, your sad tears still on my shoulders."
$10,000.
And another, "Dear Josie, this morning I was at Tammany Hall, and with Boss Tweed arrangements were made to relieve the city."
$10,000.
$250,000 for the letters, Colonel.
10,000, or you may publish them or do what you want with them.
Surely you're not serious.
Good night, Mr. Stokes.
10,000.
Bring your letters to me tomorrow, and you shall get your money. Good night.
An old almanac I have occasion to call on now and then says that Saturday, the 6th of January, in the year 1872, is the 66th anniversary of the Volunteer Fire Department of Roanoke, Virginia. Also, it predicts the day will be cold and clear with high westerly winds. So, we'll make an assumption. On a cold, clear Saturday morning, buffeted by the high westerly winds, Mr. Edward Stokes made his way to the Wall Street office of Colonel Fisk. Here he received more coldness and $10,000. Here he deposited with the colonel a stack of letters, wrapped in blue ribbon and sachet. Then Edward Stokes called on Josie Mansfield. He told her of the transaction. We must imagine that Josie's reaction went something like this.
You idiot! You bumbling, spineless idiot!
But Josie...
I should have known better than to trust you with those letters.
But $10,000 is better than nothing.
If you'd had the courage...
He told me 10,000 or nothing.
If you'd had the courage, he would have given you everything he owned. Why, the mere possession of the letter dated June 16th, 1871 would have been a fortune 10 times the amount you got.
But...
But what?
You have your jewels, this house. Surely you must be worth nearly $1 million yourself.
I love you, dear Edward, but that's my money. You'll just have to... What is it, Quimby?
Miss Annie Wood wishes to speak with you.
Tell her I'm busy.
She said it's extremely urgent.
Extremely urgent.
Hello, Annie.
Josie, dear Josie, and dear Mr. Stokes.
Hello.
The judge came to see me for lunch a little while ago.
Judge? What are you talking about?
Judge Tripler.
Well, I don't see...
He just come from court. He just signed a warrant.
Yes?
For the arrest of dear Mr. Stokes on the charge of blackmail.
Colonel Fisk?
Yes. The dear judge told me that the colonel asked him to sign such a warrant. Josie.
Yes?
We'll be seeing each other more often, won't we, dear Josie?
Publication of the time. I quote, "The next that was seen of Edward Stokes, as far as is known, was at a few minutes before 4 o'clock, when he was walking carelessly up and down the main corridor of the Grand Central Hotel on the parlor floor. This corridor is 1 story above the street, is parallel with Broadway, and at its northern end is reached by a staircase from the street. Passing and repassing the head of the staircase, Stokes glanced furtively down the stairs. It was nearly 4 o'clock when Colonel James Fisk Jr. drove up in a carriage to the door. Stepping out of his carriage and walking briskly across the pavement, he passed through the outer door of the hotel. When he had done so, he was heard to inquire for a certain Annette Latour. He was told she was in and started up the stairs.
Good afternoon, Colonel.
Stokes, don't!
You ruined me.
For the love of heaven, someone help me!
Edward Stokes was restrained a block away. The colonel didn't die immediately. He was lifted by 3 bellhops and taken to chambers supplied by the management. Doctors were called, and the colonel joked with them, as he joked with his many friends who came to visit him. He joked with everybody. The next day, in the middle of a joke, he died. Thomas Stokes pleaded self-defense. He was convicted of manslaughter in the 3rd degree. Josie Mansfield spent her remaining days with her aunt, Miss Annie Wood.
And here again is Thomas Hyland.
Next week, Long Melford in the county of Suffolk in England. The year, 1739. My report to you will be on the shrapnelled body of Charles Drew, Sr. Thank you. Good night.
James Fisk Jr., tonight's crime classic, was adapted from the original court reports and newspaper accounts by Morton Fine and David Friedkin. The music was composed and conducted by Bernard Herrmann, and the program is produced and directed by Elliott Lewis. Thomas Hyland is portrayed on radio by Lou-Merrill. James Fisk Jr. was played by William Johnstone. Featured in the cast were Mary Jane Croft, Martha Wentworth, Steve Roberts, Harry Bartell, Paula Winslow, and Charles Calvert. Bob Lamont speaking.
Elliott Lewis produced some unusual radio shows, and Crime Classics was one of them. Ran one season on CBS, and this episode, June 29th, 1953, 68 years ago. Thanks so much for listening. Hope you'll go visit jackbenny.org and learn more about what they're going on trying to get the Maxwell. Hope you'll check it out. And we hope you will also visit my webpage, classicradio.stream, where you can stream our radio programs on demand, learn more about classic radio collecting, and contact me, classicradio.stream. Also, please thank this radio station and support their advertisers. It is their kindness and courtesy that we're on the air each and every time we're here. And please, 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 if you miss a day, you do not have to miss a show. You can find us not only at classicradio.stream, but anywhere podcasts are served on the internet, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Overcast, Spotify, Spreaker, TuneIn, and the iHeartRadio app. Just search for USA Classic Radio Theater. Have yourself a great day. Please thank this radio station, support the advertisers, tell your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater on your favorite station and the USA Radio Network.